And hello, hello, hello. So I am here today with two friends, Kiara Rain and Ruby Ryder. Ruby's in the middle and Kiara's all the way that way. I'm geographically challenged, forgive me. But many of you might have seen posts that have been swirling around about someone named Nichiren. Now they own a BDSM venue, and I'm not going to say the name of the venue because I'm not going to promote this place. So this person has said a lot of demeaning things to women and other patrons. Now, this person's excuse has been, well, you're walking to a BDSM club, what do you expect? No, the place is advertised as more of a music venue. That's kind of like telling someone, well, you're browsing on Amazon, you're trying to learn about the products, and you gotta freaking buy them. It's pretty stupid. So, Kiara is very experienced within the BDSM community. I want both of your inputs on this. Any roleplay has to be consensual. You cannot force your roleplay or force someone to roleplay with you. It has to be consensual. And this person clearly doesn't know what consent means.
Clearly.
Yeah, I mean, everything within DS or roleplay in general, in Second Life or anywhere else, has to be consensual. There are two consenting parties, sometimes more if it's a group scene or whatever, that are voluntarily taking part in something. The only time where direct expressed consent is not necessarily required in a situation that I'm okay with is like when you go to a sim that's like a gory and roleplay sim. You kind of know what gore is at that point if you're consenting to stay there, and you're handed rules when you go. And the rules say, this is how you can expect to be treated on this sim if you roleplay such and such a role. Staying here is consenting to that. And actually, I didn't tell either of you this before we started recording, but I took my alt over to said venue last night to just double check. Because again, I am that person that, like, if you're handed rules and you choose to stay there, well, then whatever happens to you is on you. There are no rules. There's no rules that's given to you when you land, like, automatically, and there's nowhere to click for rules for that particular venue. I even popped my alt into the group for a second to see if there were rules available in the notices, and there's not anything there. So there's none, this excuse of, well, you should know what to expect. You really don't, because you're not informed when you enter that venue. So if someone's just teleporting you at random saying, oh, come check out this live musician, like, you have no idea what you're into, and that's, you can't consent to that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even if there were rules stated, if you're going to bring in a performer who is just a general performer, like was performing that night, unless you've let the performer know to inform their fans, don't come unless you're prepared for this kind of environment, then even then, rules on the wall and, you know, whatever kind of get negated at that point, but none of that. None of that was expected. Yes, everyone was aware that it was a BDSM club. That doesn't imply anything, because there's a lot of BDSM clubs out there, or sex clubs, and that hire musicians, and they don't expect the people coming for that musician to actually be interested in that kind of sexual behavior. It's not their bag. They are just there for the live music because they like that musician. And that's why people hire musicians, to bring in whole new people.
Exactly.
To bring traffic to their venue. And if you're going to bring traffic to your venue and then treat everyone like crap when they show up, what's the point of paying the thousands of linden for your musician?
Exactly. That's a very good point. And I want everyone to understand that is watching that this is not an attempt or video to drag someone. It's to educate people that are interested in getting into certain roleplay communities and the importance about consent. Now, this place that we're talking about is a music venue. It's not a roleplay sim. It is not a roleplay sim. And as Kiara and you've stated before, there were no rules. There's none of this and that. So the owner of this venue, I think, tries to abuse the fact that they are the owner of this venue And this is why they have this place. Not for the love of the music, but for the love of trying to abuse people in this sense. The way this person goes about things is humiliation. This isn't, these aren't people that he's been role-playing with, that he has established a relationship with. He does this to strangers. To people that he's never had a conversation with before, that he hasn't built a foundation with. Now, what people don't understand, or many do, that when it comes to a DS relationship, that trust needs to be involved. You don't trust the effing stranger, okay? And in no way would I do I practice BDSM? No, I don't, but I'm a bossy biatch. But I don't practice it, and I wouldn't knock it, because how does other people practicing, BDSM harm me? It doesn't affect my life in any way. Where I draw the line is when people are using it as an excuse to abuse others within the Second Life community. And I am not about abuse at all. Okay? So this person hasn't only been accused of abuse within this venue. They've also attacked other people, and I have screenshots of all of this. People don't know what the hell he's talking about. So this girl had posted something on Facebook, and it was about, she was trying to stay in a friendly zone when it came to, I guess, political stuff. She was trying to stay neutral. She wasn't trying to step on anyone's toes. So he comments on this. Sure, Nina, let me explain first. You are not a public figure. No one outside of a few in SL know you. You have zero influence, like the rest of us. In addition, judging your fellow man and political leaders is bad form. I guess we know who he voted for. You and I are nothing more than ignorant, ordinary, carbon-based beings. Serfs, if you will. Your pompous, righteous ass should be tied to a post and paddled a nice shade of red. Until you realize your menial contributions, you and others here have really given lastly. Jesus would have traveled the spice trail to India to learn more about Buddha's teachings, then returned to his flock to proclaim accurately Mark 12:17. He was a smart fucker, you as well. Does anyone understand what the F this guy meant?
No. It's all a bunch of rambling nonsense, mostly.
So then...
I mean, I didn't agree with him, but I was with him, like, in understanding what he was trying to say up until Jesus and the Spice Trail. Then I completely lost
Please
it.
be a translator. Nope. What the hell was he talking about?
I'll even say I agree with the first part, saying we're all just,
Yeah.
peons or nothing.
But then he babbled up his own butthole, and I lost anything after that. So
but the important part of that is the way he degrades her by saying that she deserves to have her bottom paddled, which is so repulsive that he would speak to a woman like that. If that's how he wants to speak to his subs, his slaves, whatever he has, that's between them, between two consenting adults who've established this relationship. When you're having a conversation that has nothing to do with BDSM at all, with someone who does not have an intimate relationship with you, don't you dare say something so grotesque as you should have your bottom paddled. It is so degrading and disgusting. And honestly, I think that might be one of the best examples of exactly how he views women. That it's not just his subs, his pets, his slaves. It's all women that should be subservient to him.
Yeah, and that makes me vomit in my own mouth. So, now, what Nina replied was, and it gives you an even better grasp of the situation. Hi, Nina, by the way. I have no idea where you got all of that from. My original post, like literally none. All I said was I tried to keep my page neutral so as to not offend anyone. And I know a lot of lovely people who said one thing and then support political figures who work against those very things. Very simply, that's all I said. It's perplexing to me. I'm not a public figure. Read my intro. I did say for whatever the hell it's worth in SL. And to tell me I have zero influence, and to tell me it's bad form to ask these questions. What are you on about exactly? To call me pompous, that I should be tied to a post and paddled. Now, here's a funny thing, because she didn't come off as, he came off as very narcissistic, know-it-all. And I think that that's another thing that, come on, people, if you want to get into a dominant role, like, that's exactly, when you act like this, it puts you in the category of pseudo-dominant, which means you are nothing but a wannabe dominant. And I feel very sorry for you know, subservients who get involved with these men, because a lot of people go to these places to learn, to better educate themselves, and they get scared off because of crap like this. Many people come into Second Life wanting to learn about Second Life, and they come across people who are nasty like this and scare them off and paint a very horrible picture of Second Life.
And in the BDSM community. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right on.
Like, half the reason we have to have the argument that BDSM isn't abuse is because so many abusive people tried to hide behind BDSM.
Right.
Yeah. And then I love how when they have nothing with substance or intelligence to say or to contribute to the conversation, he even puts gags in women's mouth. Yeah. After, like, when it's a woman's turn to reply, he doesn't like what she's saying because it's intelligent and it's spot on. He role plays putting a gag in their mouth. I looked at him like, wow, he's stupid. God forgive me. I know that was mean. But people have sent me conversations. I've seen conversations posted. And it's grotesque to me. And it's kind of sad, because don't men or partners want to be challenged intellectually? Don't they want to keep that open mind? You know, I've spoken to dominant males on it. People have been experienced in real life for like 25 plus years. And they told me that there's many different forms of dominant men and women, you know, and that it is their job as the dominant to guide, to not humiliate, unless that is what they're into in their corner of their role play. That they're open to intelligent conversation. They actually appreciate it and expect it from their subs, or I'm going to say slaves, you know, that they like that interaction, that conversation, that flow, you know, that getting to know someone. They say that behavior like this shuts a sub down and really limits her education of how the community should be. Do you find this to be true?
I do, because there's this overwhelming, and I mean, if you go into any of the Sims that some of us referred to as meat market Sims, I'm not going to name any of them, but right. I'm sure some of you got a few of them that popped right into your head as soon as I said that word. You'll know the dominants that come into your IMs, and they see that you're a submissive, whether you're owned or not. They'll see that you're a submissive, and they'll be like, you, girl, come over here, kneel. And there's this overarching idea that just because you're submissive to everybody. Right. And I'm over here like, look, I am a submissive, but I am not your submissive. So please take 2.5 steps back and have a seat. Thank you.
Exactly. Bravo.
And that doesn't just apply to BDSM or DS, because you can go to... There's plenty of sex sims, NSL, and there's one in particular that my friends and I used to go to, and no judgment on anyone who goes to them. I've never been into sex sims for the sake of sex, but sometimes they're a little amusing. So there was one we used to go to because people were on voice, and the voice interactions were entertaining. We don't troll, we don't say nasty things to people, never anything like that, but just listen and, enjoy the show. When we go to these places... It's been a long time, but anytime I've gone to these places, obviously, yeah, you're going to get hit on, but it's not just getting hit on, because some of them will come up and just start emoting sexual things. I had one guy who tried to be as non-vulgar as possible here about it, who literally emoted a long paragraph about coming up behind me, and I have no other way to say it, fucking me in the ass. I'm sorry, that's the
Ooh,
I can
he went
possibly
right
say
for
it.
the pooper.
Opener.
Like, literally just went for it. And I was like, okay, just because I'm at a sex sim, even if I was looking for sex, that doesn't mean that I'm looking for sex with you.
You could have been
Like,
a voyeur.
But regardless, even if I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm going to take one of these guys home tonight and have my fun, I get to choose which one
Yeah.
that is. And he gets to choose which one that is. There's not some implied consent that just because I'm in a sex club or on a sex sim, that means that I want to have sex with every single guy there. That's
Exactly.
absolutely absurd to even think that that would be an acceptable way to behave with anyone, let alone a woman who is already being degraded enough in general in this world, let alone
Yeah.
by some piece of crap in a virtual world. So
Yeah.
it's this kind of behavior is all over Second Life, and the excuse is always, it's just SL. You can mute, you can block, it's not real, it's not actually a violation because you're not being touched. But you know what? Just like verbal and mental and emotional abuse is just as impactful as physical abuse in real life, these kind of comments towards us, sometimes it's easy to laugh off. Sometimes it really is so severe
Cringy.
and so
Yeah.
aggressive, and we feel that. You know, I'm sure there's women who don't. I'm sure there's women who are like, you know what, I really, none of this, I don't take any of this seriously, it's all nonsense and I don't care. You say whatever you want to me. I'm sure there's plenty of women who feel
There's
I,
certain
for one-
people who are more invested in Second Life than others. you
right,
know?
and I'm sort of in the middle. You know, I can definitely get offended by some things, and other things I'm like, I could not
Same.
and just try to care. But when a man speaks to me in that manner, that tells me who he is. It's not just about, oh, this is just SL. It tells me who he is and what he is. And I will be first in line to put him in his place. Because there is zero reason for that kind of behavior. I don't understand why so many men think that that's acceptable, that they can't just approach a woman and say, hello, how are you? Are you interested in sex with me if you're at a sex club? If you're not at a sex club, please don't say that. Please don't say, are you interested in sex with me? If you're at a sex club, fine. That's a fair question. But, you know, get the consent first. That's it. It's so easy to just get consent
Yeah.
without acting like a total jackass.
This is true. You say hello, how are you? Why have you come here this evening?
You can comment on the profile. I saw your profile, you said something funny. Whatever. Like, just be a person and treat us like people. We are people. It doesn't matter that the image you see is an avatar. We are people, and it's said over and over and over and over again all the time. We are real people behind the avatars. No matter how many times we say it, there's still so many out there who seem to forget that we are people.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying. And to me, when somebody acts like that in SL, it just tells me that this is how they wish they could act in real life.
Yeah.
I don't have a positive view of them and think, oh, it's just SL. I'm sure they're lovely people in the real world.
Another thing that we say that is to benefit people like this, to help them, because this really, when they act this way, makes them look stupid. It's not
It does.
sexy or attractive. Like, it makes them look stupid, ignorant. It just makes a lot of them cringy. And then they want to look at other gals or guys and be like, oh, well, you're stuck up. No, it's not stuck up. It's having standards, honey.
Yeah.
You should try it. Formulate a complete sentence that doesn't say, I want sex your butt. You know?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of note cards of guys who have approached me like that over the years that I get seen. But those ones just make me laugh because those are usually noobs, right? Like, they don't understand SL. They don't understand the dynamics. They don't understand what's going on. They think we're all here for sex. So they message you with, I want sex your butt. And that's just, I do good sex, mega sex. That's one I had, mega sex.
I make you sex so good, you sex so hard in your face.
And honestly, those ones just kind of make me laugh. And depending on my mood, I'm either going to just ignore them, explain to them that that's not how Second Life works, or troll them, which is usually the funniest.
I pretend not to know English. And then if they know Spanish, then I'm like, oh no, my mistake. That's not my language. My language is Italian. And then I jump to there. And then I start speaking in tongues if they know Italian. I'm like,
but those are noobs, and that's different. I handle that differently. But when someone's been here for a long time, they know how this works. They know better. They choose to act how they act just because they can, and they know that there's no actual consequence for it, other than, you know, their own maybe feeling of self-worth at the end of the day. I don't know how people like that look themselves in the mirror knowing that they treat other people in a disrespectful manner on a regular basis like that, and ruin people's days, or make them feel bad about themselves, or make them feel violated. One of my first encounters in SL, someone that really upset me, and I'm not as sensitive to it now as I was in my first, year in SL. A man messaged me and he said, I just want you to know that I'm about to come from looking at your avatar. And I was just
God.
So disgusted. And then in his profile, he had a picture of himself in real life, and he just looked like someone who had girls living in his basement. It was a horrible, horrible experience. And I was a little traumatized by that, because I was still new in SL. I had never experienced anything. I mean, it was 2007. I had never experienced anything like that before. I was really upset. I was quite shaken by the whole thing. It affects me less now, because been there, done that, but it can get to you. Like, it's still, it messes with you a little bit. And maybe not everyone, but I know there's plenty of women who feel genuinely violated when these treat us this way.
Yeah. And there's even some women who treat men very horribly, in role plays. I've experienced it more and heard more about it with men against women. But then I've heard like a few cases, because I don't go to these adult places much or whatever. I've heard about women being but then again, could be men and women's avatars. So
that's very true. I mean, of course women aren't innocent. Of course there's women out there who do bad things and act terrible and whatever, but this is about sort of I don't want to say victimization, because I feel like maybe that's a little strong for the topic that we're discussing, but as far as a bigger picture goes, the way that men have treated women since the dawn of time is a much larger issue than the way that, some women might treat some men. There's the stronger power there that we have to make women feel less than.
Yes.
Or unsafe.
Yes. So here I'm going to read this, and you both have seen this, but maybe there's people watching who haven't. But Nichiren was greeting people that were coming into the club. So this is what he types in local chat. Nice to see you, Jericho. And then he goes, damn, you brought your bitch. Hello, Cricket. Now, he's not friends with the couple. He's not intimate friends with Cricket. So Cricket says, thanks. I would appreciate it if you don't refer to me as a bitch. Thank you. So Nichiren goes on, you can ask. I won't comply. Sorry. So Cricket says, I see you confuse misogyny with dominance. Very good point, my child. And he goes, and Nichiren says, smiles. I do look forward to speaking with you. I'm sure I will learn a lot. And he meant that in a very condescending, twatty kind of way. So Cricket says, I couldn't agree more, but unfortunately for you, I chose to not speak with you any further. Looks you directly in the eyes and smirks. And then to be more condescending, Nichiren says, smiles, good girl. Honey, she's not your girl to say good girl. She's not your dog. And sure as hell, you didn't push her out of your penis pussy. And I'd hate to say it that way, because he tries to push buttons this way. And let me tell you, he tried to do it to me in a way. So this is the conversation. I messaged him. I reached out because I wanted to be fair. Okay? Obviously something that he does not know the meaning of. So I go, hello, would you be up for an interview? So I think he had an idea of what this is about, so he kind of like freaked a little bit. Nichiren goes, "Good afternoon, Granny. Hope you're enjoying the weekend. Thanks for the offer, but I will have to decline. I'm afraid I wouldn't be much of an interesting interview." You got that right. "You are always free to ask one of my girls if they would be interested in helping you promote whatever it is that you're trying to promote." Awkward. "They are all here during our what the hell does he write? Thursday shows. Please feel free to stop by and say hello, get to know everyone. They may be more apt to help you with your cause." So I wrote back, "I'm not trying to promote anything and not sure why I would need to ask one of the girls, as you put it. It's in regards to everything that has surfaced online. Either way, I'll be making a video. Thanks for your reply." So then he goes, "You didn't specify what the interview was about. I just assumed you needed content for a blog or something. W/we get that a lot." Oh, no, not for me, honey. You wouldn't get that from me. So then I go on to say, "Oh, I'm full on content." He goes, then Nichiren goes, "Look at the one at the club. Very cool." Nods. I don't know what I guess he wanted me to promote his place. That shit wouldn't happen. Hell would have to freeze over. Not even then, honey. So then I write, "I never have a lack for content, and I don't have an interest in promoting your BDSM club. LOL. I simply wanted to give you the opportunity to speak for yourself instead of being spoken about." Then Nichiren says, "Adorable. Why would I need you for that?" Condescending prick. So then I reply, "Have I used the word need?" "Oh no, that's right. You said need. Have a lovely day," smiley face. So then he replies again. Nichiren says, that was my point. I see no need. You are the one with the need." So I reply, "Why on earth are you still typing? Don't you know what have a lovely day means?" I will translate. Our conversation or lack thereof was over and goodbye. I don't think he knows how to exit stage left. You know, I doubt he could really find the private parts on a real life girl. But that's just my opinion. Somebody get the man a blow up doll and a map. But, you know, if you want to be condescending, here's the thing. He doesn't want to talk to women who have brains that could challenge him, that could whatever. And maybe I should have let one of his girls come onto the show because I'd like to see what kind of cult this is, you know, in that small little corner of the metaverse. But to each their own. They might have a different experience with him. They might have different, deeper conversations with him. Hell, he might even be paying them. Honey, if he is paying you, I hope you're getting paid well. But, I don't know. But I kind of vomited in my mouth after that. I did try and be fair. And I kind of felt like telling him, there is no shortage of content. There really isn't. I mean, it took me 1 minute to replace his ignorant self with 2 intelligent, beautiful human beings.
Aww.
And that's the truth. Listen, here's a reason why freaking Jesus made vibrators. You don't gotta deal with shit like that. Pardon my French, begging my pardon. But it all comes down to, and that's another thing. There's people that walk up into places that don't even have an adult theme, and they think that it's okay to harass people. And if they don't get the response that they feel they deserve from a person of the opposite sex, they find it that they have carte blanche to abuse this person verbally because they are not getting what they want from this person. So you'll have a man approach a woman and say, "Hey, sexy," this and that. And the woman will say, you know, "I'm not here for that. I'm not interested. You know, I'm just here to shop." And the guy will turn around, "You effing bitch," this and that, and blah, 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 and get really nasty. Now, at that moment, when you blow up on a woman like that, you just confirmed her first impression of you and why she said no. You catch more bees with honey. Not with salt, honey. Not with salt.
There's an entire subreddit dedicated to men like that. That's r/nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep, the quintessential nice guy. is super nice, then feels entitled to your sexual response because he's been just so nice.
Yeah.
But this was my problem. And to the original issue and also to what you just brought up, Grady, like, there is a time and place for everything. And this was what I was trying to get across in any of the comments that I made on the post that surfaced on social media.
Right.
Was that there is this idea of third-party consent that apparently a lot of people don't understand. And even if the sim owner had an established relationship with this person, he is in a room full of people that are not consenting to what is going on.
Right.
Because again, we don't have rules that tell us what this particular venue does, what kind of behavior to expect. So no one is consented by just simply being there. No one knows what's going on. So
people just view it as an attack.
Right. There's this idea of third-party consent that, like, I am standing as a bystander. I do not consent to participate in your scene. So, like, BDSM venues, when they have educational discussions that are not, like, events, they're not play parties, they're not sexually based anything, they're educational discussions, we have a general kind of unspoken rule that you're not nude at those things, you're not sexually interacting with your submissive at those things, because people didn't come to that venue at that specific scheduled time for a scene or for play or for sex. They came for an educational discussion and they did not consent to be a part of your scene. So that idea of third-party consent, I thought it was common sense, but apparently common sense is not a flower that grows in everyone's garden, because this was the fundamental issue. I don't even care if he had an established relationship with Cricket or not. The fact that there were other people in the room who had not consented to be a part of that humiliation, degradation scene, that never should have happened. And the same with the way that he replied to somebody publicly about they should be tied up and their bottom spanked until it was red or whatever, and then gagging them. Like, that was in a public forum. There are people reading this thing that did not consent to be a part of your scene. And even if they had consented, the moment that Cricket IM'd him and said, I'd appreciate it if you didn't refer to me as a bitch, and his response was, you can ask, I won't comply.
He wasn't man enough to comply. He wasn't man enough. Hold on one second.
Right. And that right there told me that that wasn't a dominant, whether the misogynistic or not. Like, one of the biggest ideas in dominance is consent, and that consent can be withdrawn at any moment. So maybe that's a way that they talk to each other, whatever, like, even if it was, it obviously wasn't, it's been confirmed that it wasn't, but even if it was, if she's not in the mood that day, she can say, hey, I'm not feeling that today, and that consent is withdrawn, and that should stop immediately.
That's how you can tell that he wasn't a real dominant, because as soon as she said what she said, and he said, oh, well, that he wasn't going to comply, he wasn't man enough to comply, A true, educated person that is intelligent and giving and knowledgeable and all these other wonderful qualities knows that the moment that a woman says that, it takes more bravery to take accountability and just be like, you know what? You're perfectly right. I apologize. I won't address you that way again. It's not eating dirt. It's just someone taking accountability.
Manners.
Yeah, and taking accountability is a sexy quality. It is a sexy, attractive quality. Yep,
absolutely. Just because you're dominant doesn't mean you can't still be a gentleman. Like, there's no reason that the two have to be mutually exclusive.
Right, my master's one of the most gentlemanly people I've ever met, and it's like that's an established dynamic. He doesn't necessarily have to be a gentleman to me, but he still is, because that's the kind of person that he is.
There you go. And I'm sure he would never ever address another woman that he didn't know as bitch.
Oh, no. No. Not outside of a Gorian sim, because he is Gorian by nature. So if you walk up to him in a Gorian sim, he might address you as slave.
Of course.
I don't think he would even go so far as to be derogatory. Bitch, slut, whatever. Like, he would just address you as a slave if you were a female wearing a collar in a Gorian sim. But otherwise, it's just like, hi, Ruby. That
right there,
the normal way to greet somebody.
Because that's implied consent. When you go to a Gorian sim, you know it's RP. You know that is what's gonna happen, and you're there for that purpose, especially if you're there wearing the outfit with the collar and everything else.
Right.
Obviously you would expect to be referred to as slave or
but
whatever.
not only that, but a lot of slaves and subs will correct a dominant who messages them and give them the right to address them in a certain way, because some people do want to be demeaned, and they either have it in their profiles that I've seen and things like that, but they will say, no sir, address me as such and such way if you don't mind, or whichever way you please. That is consent. That is someone saying, or, you know, first when you go to roleplay with someone, and this wasn't even roleplay between him and Cricket, that was, he was just being douchey. But the first things you do when meeting someone and you're about to roleplay is a lot of people go over their limits. You know, a lot of people that when they try to build a role-playing relationship, maybe family, maybe adult, maybe whatever the hell they do, they set their limits and they talk about, oh no, they correct each other in the beginning, right? Yeah, just don't say this. And it's a known thing in the roleplay community to do, you know? But I think this person, I know I'm jumping everywhere today because I'm trying not to cough, but I think people like this own their own venues because they know they couldn't get away with this crap at other people's venues. They know that if they were to address people like that locally, that they would get a message from a manager being like, no. You don't do that here. So what do? They open up their own little shitholes their own places. And, pardon my French, begging my pardon. They open up their own places so this way they could get away with as much abuse as they can. And at the same time, disguise it as something else.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm not going to say sim names because I haven't talked to the people of the places that I go to see if, like, hey, are you okay with being mentioned? So I'll just say a place I hang out, like, it's a very high protocol kind of DS situation. We give workshops on how to address people, like forms of address, that kind of a thing, so that submissives know generally what's expected of them. But we also do live music. And once a month, we bring in an outside musician. And so you might have girls that are saying, oh, if you popped in Granny out of nowhere and the girls didn't know, they'd be like, oh, hi, Miss Magnolia. Like, they would address you that way. But if that particular person would have walked into that venue, even being a high protocol DS venue in the middle of that event and addressed somebody as a bitch, they would have been kicked first and asked questions later.
Yes.
So it's like, it's not, that was the thing that I always wanted to get across on that post when it came out on social media, is that this is not blanket behavior of all DS venues. This is not blanket behavior of all DS people. This is not BDSM in the slightest. This is just a douchebag on a power trip.
Yeah, there's a person with a deep psychological issue because they have so little control of the women in their real life that they try and come on Second Life and try to pretend to be something that they're not. No, I'm not speaking for all dominance. I'm speaking about fake dominance. I'm talking about people who use that title to make all the rest of you look bad. You know? That's why there's a lot of women outside of the BDSM community, when a dominant male does approach them, they roll their eyes and, like, you know, get out of my face. Because they've experienced these fake dominance. They've had these really bad experiences. And they just are afraid of that happening again. You know?
Yeah. But he keeps insisting that he's been dominant since birth. Because as we all know, babies are very dominant.
Honey, in the conversation, I would have swirled logic around him until he drowned. And all he would have been doing was blowing fart bubbles. There's nothing intelligent, appealing. He gives me gas, honey. I've been having stomach issues for the past few weeks.
Now we know why.
Okay, and I could not toot. 1 second into conversation with this son of a sausage, I was like...
Oh my gosh.
He's so full of hot-ass air that I caught it from one conversation. My ass is going like the freaking Sony movie theater. My ass is flapping like the door to 7-Eleven.
Oh, God.
Okay? My farts are going so hard that my low-hanging boobies are just flapping everywhere.
Oh, no. bro.
Oh, not the boobies. Oh no.
Oh my god.
Don't worry, they're strapped in here now, honey. I got that shape tape and all that other stuff in there.
And like, okay, so here's my thing, because it was funny how people were talking about his experience with women, and my experience with him so far has been absolute silence. And you would think that he would try to approach me of some kind, because I've done the same things that everybody else has done that has gotten a rise out of him. I was commenting on actual proper DS protocol on side of the social media post. Didn't get a reach out or whatever. Like, even if he didn't comment on the post, there were some people that were saying that he would reach out to them privately in Facebook messages after he would read their comments. Yeah, that never happened to me. I went to the page and I left a negative review based on DS protocol and the way that he's treating women and trying to hide it behind his BDSM when it's not. And you can see farther down that there's another person who left a negative comment about how nothing would ever make them go there. And he outright engaged with them, responded, tried to bait them, tried to insult them and demean them and degrade them. This man has not said 2 words to me, and I'm trying to figure out why. And I'm trying to figure out
because you're intelligent, honey.
If it's the idea that I'm a submissive that actually knows what I should and should not tolerate from somebody, that he's just, I don't know, maybe he's afraid, and maybe I'm inviting it by saying he's afraid, but whatever. I mean,
because your education surpasses him by leaps, bounds, and by 20 Michael Jordans, and he's tall.
Preschoolers with more education than
yeah. And take his
I don't know if he had anything to say to me. I sent him a message just showing him the Facebook post to let him know what he had done. And I said, I guess you fucked with the wrong woman today, didn't you, son? I just blocked him. So.
Narcissistic. Funny part was that he thought I would benefit from giving his place publicity or whatever. When have I ever been promoting like adult Sims or any of that other stuff? It's not, hey, to each their own. You know, I like having adult discussions to where I become better informed and I learn about certain parts of the community because I love Second Life in its entirety. I enjoy learning new things about the community. I don't judge people for it, but I do judge people for being sons of sausages. And what I mean by sons of sausages is an asshole. So, but I just don't like people damaging the community. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like bullies. I don't like people who feel like they have to demean others in order to make themselves feel important. Because that's exactly what this is. You're dealing with the types of people who think that by blowing out someone else's candle makes them shine brighter. But in reality, it just puts their ignorance on display. It shows you their limited education. And back to what Kiera was saying before about how he wouldn't, engage with her or comment back on any of the things. Because he knows you are far more educated on the matter than he ever was. There's people who get into the DS community for the wiki sticky. They just deal with that. Oh, do as I say, and they don't look into all the care, the other aspects of it, the respect, the knowledge. They just think because, I could be bossy. I'm a dominant guy. I'm the poo. I'm the cat's meow. I say jump, she says how high. Bupkis. He could blow it out his red door.
Well, I mean, I don't make it a habit of, I really don't make it a habit of being like this, but I have such a fundamental issue with someone painting the lifestyle that I've come to love so much in such a negative light by trying to hide abuse behind it. It's like he's an incel that got a hold of 50 Shades of Grey and now thinks he knows everything, and I'm so confused.
That's exactly it.
It's like Gilbert Godfrey reading 50 Shades of Grey. Did you see my post on Facebook?
Yes. About died.
That's exactly what I think about when I see pseudo-dominance and all that, and I see those conversations. I hear Gilbert Godfrey's voice reading 50 Shades of Grey.
That's probably a pretty accurate representation. Or as someone on Facebook said, I'm sorry, I can't give credit to who it was because I don't remember one of the comments on the reposts of my post about this whole thing. He is full-on tiny wienering out there. I really love the phrase tiny wienering. And that's exactly what it is. You know, he's obviously got some kind of insecurities about himself and whatever deficits he has in his own life, his own personality, his own character, and he feels the need to control. And it's not just about controlling his own subs, slaves, pets. It's a need to control all women. And that is a dangerous mindset.
It is. It definitely is.
And one that I'm not going to tolerate, which is why I posted. I'm not even friends with Cricket and Jericho. I don't know them. The only reason I knew about it is because my partner was the host of The Musician at that show, and she brought that conversation to him and pasted it to him, basically saying, "Can you help? Is there anything you can do?" And I was on a call with him at the time, and he read it to me, and I just raged. I was just so angry at this person speaking to a woman like that.
Truth, because when he greeted Jericho just fine, but then addressed Cricket as a lesser being.
Which is making an assumption, because he doesn't know them. So he's made the assumption about their own lifestyle. For all he knows, in their lifestyle, she's the dominant, and he's the submissive. He doesn't know what is inside their relationship, whether it's in their profile or not. Not everybody broadcasts that information.
You know what? You want to know why I think he said it? You want to know why I think he said it? He wanted to make himself look cool. He wanted to try and show off with a power that he didn't have, with a consent that he didn't have. That's what it is. It's all smoke and mirrors, you know? He wanted to get some form of attention from these people. There's some people that desperately crave attention that they go about it in all the wrong, crappy ways.
Well, and unfortunately, and I hate to say it, but it's just like warning signs in real life. Like, you wouldn't have to make the sign if someone didn't try it. And so he wouldn't continue to do this thing if it didn't work for him at least a marginal percentage of the time. And whether that means that there are submissive women that are trying to explore their submission and he's the first dominant, quote unquote, that they run into and they think that's what dominance looks like, or whether it's just women that really are there for sex, they think his pixels are hot and so they don't care what he says as long as he fucks them. Like, I'm not actually sure, but it has to work for him at least a marginal percent of the time or he wouldn't do it anymore. And so that was part, like, that's the whole reason I'm here. I'm like, look, if you are a submissive woman or you think you're a submissive woman or you're trying to explore that side of yourselves, you don't have to settle for shit like that. There are such better men and such better dominants out there than that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but it will work on someone who wants to belong somewhere. That's the thing. There's people who desperately want to belong somewhere. They want to fit somewhere. So they deal with the most ridiculous amounts of abuse to feel like they're part of something. I was speaking to someone who is in a subservient role last night, and she told me that numerous occasions she's dealt with abuse because she couldn't bear with the fact of being alone. That she would run into friends who were a part of things here and there that would have, you know, either multiple long-term partners, either in a poly situation or DS situation or DD and little situation, but that she found herself not having any of that. So the ones that would come along that seemed like they would stick around, she latched to until they would ghost her. That's the term she used, when they would vanish on her, you know? Mm-hmm. And she said that even though the situations were abusive, that she felt at least for a short while that she would belong somewhere. And I found that very heartbreaking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very sad. And that makes me very concerned for, you know, women who are with men like him or him specifically. And, you know, there is a deep, I do obviously, I mean, I think I've made it quite clear that I consider myself a feminist and I stand for women's rights. So it is very concerning to me that there are women in relationships with these men who feel like they don't have a better option, who feel like they don't belong anywhere, that this is the best they can do, this is the best they can get. That's not true. Deserve more, you deserve better, and I think every woman has been there, you know, in some relationship or another that was completely wrong for her, with someone who didn't treat her right, and you make your excuses and say, oh, he's not like this all the time, or, you know, he treats me good and I just put up with the other things. Nobody's perfect. You know, you make all these excuses for these terrible men who do terrible things and act in a terrible way and make you feel terrible, and like you're unworthy, like you can't do better. But you can. Every woman on this planet can do better than some guy who's going to make them feel like anything less than the absolute queens that they are.
And with this idea of belonging, like, and I hate that stuff like this probably, I mean, I guess it might, I don't know, but I can't see where it would and would offer the same kind of feeling exist for people that aren't DS related.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, hi puppies. But in DS, if you're a submissive kind of person that is like settling because you want to feel
Right.
like you belong, find a community. Like the community that I hang out with is one of the most amazing groups of people, and I entered that community owned. And then real life took over for my then master to the point that he just up and deleted his avatar with no notice. And in a moment where I could have come into something that is probably a whole other topic, sub frenzy, in a moment when I could have done to that and made stupid decisions and just like hopped into the next collar that looked at me funny, I had a community of people that still made me feel like I belonged. I had friends.
Aw.
There are things to do. There are workshops that you can do. If you want to hold a discussion, you can hold a discussion. So, like, I was still of service to my community. I could still feel those submissive feelings by just helping out in the community. I had, again, and I had dominants that would look out for me if there were, visitors that were not treating girls appropriately. There are dominants that'll step up and be like, this is not how this works here. So it's just like, you don't have to settle as a submissive. You can find a community of people and just kind of grow into your own and do it on your own time. There is not an obligation to be with an incel like this douchebag. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's for any woman, because you know what, these kind of men don't only exist in the DS community. Some are just abusive without putting the mask of dominance on to hide the fact that they're abusive. There's plenty of masks out there for abusive men to wear that have nothing to do
There really
with dominance.
is. There really is. Like,
Many of them just hide behind their good looks and a charming smile and a big bank account. They, you know, they're very influential and they get away with things that really should not be approved of in any situation. Like, no one should be giving anyone a free pass, no matter how handsome, charming, how much money he has, how powerful he is. But they do. Said there's a lot of masks that men wear. So
Don't be a dick.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah,
Just-
don't be a bishalik.
Don't go around calling random women bitch, or, you know, like, just be a person. Because you know what? There's no way that dude goes around in real life, is at the grocery store and needs some assistant and sees the female employee at his local Safeway and says, bitch, I need help. Like, there's no way he
You
does
know.
that, because someone would have murdered him by now.
You know damn well if female Lyndon were to pop up on his land and tell him to do something, he would jump. He would
He
jump.
would not be like, welcome, bitch. Like, there's no way he would do that. So he knows how to act right. He's not an idiot. He's a little crazy, but he's not an idiot. Like, he's not, like, oblivious. He's not no, I'm not going to give him a pass, because if we say that he's an idiot, it means that's his excuse, right? He's too stupid to know how to act right. He's not too stupid to know how to act right. He
I'm
knows full
conflicted
well
here, but
how
yeah, I
he's
agree that
supposed
he
to
knows
act.
better.
He knows how society functions. He knows how the world works at the very base degree that you don't go around calling strangers or acquaintances bitch.
You know what I think? I think that he's been demeaning women for so long that God punished him and made his pee-pee shrink an inch each time he demeaned a woman. Now there's nothing left, so he's really angry.
So what? He only demeaned women 3 times? I don't know about that.
He's trying to find a way for it to grow again. Nothing's working. Not even that chia pet stuff. He's gonna stick his little Bishalik in a thing of water with seeds and try and make it grow. I think I can. I think I can.
And look, there's nothing wrong with, and I'm gonna say this and bear with me for a second. There's nothing wrong with ignorance and stupidity.
There's thought she was about to say there's nothing wrong with a small penis. No, I was gonna agree with you there. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with ignorance and stupidity. There's nothing wrong with curiosity about the lifestyle and not knowing where to begin. But when you assert your ignorance as fact is where we have a problem. And so,
bingo.
Honestly, if anyone out there is dealing with him or someone like him, or if you're like, seek educational venues.
I don't think he's ignorant.
Do your own online research. Figure the shit out for yourself. Don't take the word of somebody like that, because that is how we create more of them.
Yeah.
And I would just like to not.
Yeah. I don't think he's ignorant, though. I think he knows full well that how he's acting is not correct. But he's made a decision that he's going to act how he wants to act to nurture his own ego and his own desires, which is essentially
and smack a label on
degrade
it,
and enslave all women.
Yeah.
So, I refuse to give him the free pass of ignorance or stupidity, because it's true. There's nothing wrong with being ignorant, and if he were just ignorant and he just didn't know better, then he would have been more open to feedback. But he insists that he knows right. But he's been at this for long enough.
They can't accept it gracefully.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that he's got some narcissistic tendencies there, clearly. And he just wants to be on a power trip. At the end of the day, that's all he wants. He just wants to control. And having it.
But very good, valid points, both of you. Very,
this is not the right way to go about gaining control.
Yeah, it's
clearly
not.
Because I'm pretty sure this whole situation has gotten out of his control at this point.
He wants things that he doesn't deserve, that he hasn't earned from people, I mean, sure, you could go around calling people names, but in the grand scheme of things, it's stupid. It makes no sense. It's just, he's trying to be able to get away with whatever he could get away with and smack a BDSM label on it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. And he doesn't want to hear that he's doesn't know what that lifestyle is genuinely about. But this video wasn't only just about Nichiren. This was an example. We were using these circumstances, this situation, as an example of abuse within a part of the Second Life community that is just not acceptable. And if we were able to help someone learn a bit more, gain some different perspective, new perspective, whatever, and just say that just because it is verbal abuse, that doesn't make it BDSM. I think maybe he should just stick to those humiliation sims or something like that. Because I think
he should just log out and leave. That's what he should do. He should just click the X and be done.
Yeah, this is true. We could have a little Abby bon voyage party. We'll just sip freaking our wine while we're sitting on our yacht and watch his little floaty sink. I'll take a harpoon. I'll shoot a floaty. That'll be fun. I'll be like, bye. Oh, I can't. You want help? What? No.
I'll never let go, Jack.
Oh, Jack, I will let go. There's no room on this door. Yes, there is. No, there's not. Yes, there is. Bye. I always said there was room on that door in that freaking movie.
There was.
They just wanted to traumatize people.
And, okay, look, even if he wants to run his venue like that, might I suggest a rules giver?
Absolutely.
Because then you can just create the rules that you want to create that environment that you want, have it give out to people when they get there, and by that point, them staying there is consent. Make sure you're not inviting vanilla performers, non-lifestyle performers. If you do,
inform them.
24/7 lifestyle.
Yeah. Inform them and say, you need to send this, to your followers when you send your notice, to make sure that they understand that we do not cease our activity or the way, we communicate with each other once they enter this club. That would be fine, as long as he's got it posted in the club. At any roleplay sim, you don't just land in the middle of roleplay. there's like a little safe zone that's like filled. The walls have rules everywhere. Don't do this, don't do this. Make sure you do this. Are you in the right clothes? Have you met all the requirements? Wear your tag. Now you can come in. Like, you have to do all these things before you enter into that role play. And, you know, I'm sure plenty would argue that BDSM DS isn't role play. You know, it's a lifestyle. It's a different thing. But within Second Life, that same kind of concept should be in play when in this kind of situation, you know, where he's inviting in a mainstream performer to his BDSM club. So there should be that established, this is how we handle it, especially if his way deviates from the standard BDSM behavior, where, like you said, there are some basic rules. And if he doesn't want to play by those rules, he is absolutely free to, at his club, play by his own set of rules. If in his club, he gets to call everyone bitch, he gets to treat every woman in there like a slave, like a sub, like a pet. He gets to degrade and do whatever he wants. If that's his rules, absolutely, he's free to do that. But we all have the right to be informed of his rules before we make the decision to subject ourselves to them.
That's all we have for today. And once again, this isn't one of those videos to where someone's getting slammed. Well, it kind of got really slammed, but that wasn't the intention. The intention, but shit happens when in Rome. But we just want to use it, as I said before, an example. And just remember, if you're in a role play situation that you find uncomfortable, it is within your full rights to mute the person and move along to another place. There's so many brilliant, beautiful places to experience and see within Second Life. You're not limited. You're not limited. Don't worry about burning the bridge and blocking a bunghole. You know, so many other places. So many. And by the way, this person who said I needed him, Nichiren, honey, I didn't even know who the hell you are before that freaking Facebook post was posted. Your place didn't even exist to me. But love your faces and talk to you guys soon. Toodles.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, girls.